Hello and welcome to Dream Team Coach TV, or should we say Dream Team Couch TV, because we're all at home, folks. I'm Sean Burke, joining me is Andy Taylor, Jack Townsend, and the grass is always greener, Graham Marshall.
It's always me.
It's just such a good name to do it to.
Isn't it? There's just an endless supply. Like, I've run out of nouns, so now I have to start using like phrases and stuff.
Yeah, it's got a little bit weird, but I quite like that actually. I don't mind that.
Yeah. The mystery word game is still going, as always. It will never end. And if you don't want to know what it is and you want to play along, look away now. I want to play along, even though I actually know what it is. But
how can you
I'm just going to pretend.
Have you ever been?
Join me? Who's going to join me in trying to find out who's got the word then?
Well, you've been quite quiet. I'm trying to work out. Would you do it 2 weeks in a row?
No, it's not me.
I don't see why not, because Sean gave me it 2 weeks in a row, when we were doing it in the studio.
There's no rhyme or reason to it.
One thing I've never done in the mystery word is lied. I've always been straight down the line.
I don't know about that.
I have. I've always been straight down the line.
Seems unlikely.
So if someone wants to say that they haven't got the word, I will happily join them in force to find the person with the word.
I sort of don't know if I can trust you, really.
So I can't believe one of you doesn't have the word. I can't believe you're not joining with me.
Well, it's not me.
But then, like, you
So
can see how fishy that would. You can see how fishy that would sound, though, can't you?
Graz, have you got the word?
You can see how fishy that would sound. No.
Okay, so Graz's got the word.
Fishy. I'm calling fishy.
It's not fishy. All right.
Are we all doing okay though in lockdown? How's everyone going? I mean, I've seen people that have never run a yard in their life, and now they're the next Mo Farah. I've seen them out there doing like 20-mile treks around the country. But it's brilliant. I mean, if everyone's keeping fit and
keeping their distance as well.
Yes.
Remember that.
But we know fitness is linked heavily to mental health, so it's a really good thing, generally.
Yeah. Shall I crack on with the show?
Why not?
Let's do it. Okay. From Grealish to Walker, the lockdown losers keep piling up. Kyle Walker is the latest footballer to defy lockdown guidelines despite preaching them to fans after he had a late night sex party with 2 escorts on Tuesday last week. He must be pretty well endowed if he can do that and still keep a 1.6 metre distance. What's wrong with these footballers, man?
Okay, so let's have it right. What Kyle Walker's been found to be done is not acceptable, even if there wasn't a lockdown and worldwide crisis.
But I mean, as a footballer and like as a sort of like person who kids might look up to and who's like meant to like potentially be. I mean, it's a bit of an image problem, isn't it, for him to be doing it at any time, probably. And let alone at a time when you shouldn't be inviting your mates round and you shouldn't be just having anyone round for.
And if it is legal, then how are escorts defined as like what's essential? Like, how are they still operating? Are they classed like Deliveroo as well because they come to your gaff? Are they in the same bracket? Like, how is that okay?
But you know what baffles me, and obviously it's been raised in the Grealish issue as well, is that how do top profile footballers not understand that whatever they do, if it's not quite right, they're going to get caught out.
They're going to get ratted out, yeah. In
the era of social media, smartphones, everyone's busy. He's going to get caught out. Like, I don't understand. Just stay, have a low profile, just sit at home, play a bit of Call of Duty, play a bit of FIFA, and just take it easy. But for some reason, these lads, I don't know whether it's just because they're used to being in the limelight so much. Is it maybe they enjoy the fact that it is a bit risky and it is like on edge, and they get a bit of a thrill out of kind of defying what their clubs are telling them and what's viewed as right.
I think.
But and Graz makes a point of that they're meant to be role models, and I think that's probably the most concerning thing, is that I don't think. I mean, just think back to when we were kids, right? And you were watching Arsenal, I was watching Wolves. I really did put all of those players on a real pedestal. Yeah. So if I'm a Man City fan, or I'm an England fan, or just a Premier League fan, I'm looking to Kyle Walker. It's a sad reality is that they are the biggest role models, and I'm looking to Kyle Walker, going, wow, like he doesn't give a toss about the social distancing. So people genuinely will, because of Kyle Walker's actions, not give a toss about social distancing. That is an absolute fact. People will be walking the streets now, and if you go up to them and going, "What's the crack? Why are you out?" and they'll be like, "Well, look, all the people in football aren't doing it, so why shouldn't I?"
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue that we're facing here, and that's why they're idiotic, because they don't understand their implications. They just think that, oh, I'm fine, I'm healthy, I'm not going to affect people. Exactly what we said with Grealish last week. And they're right. They probably won't affect people, but it's the influence they're having on the wider public.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's their visibility, really, that makes it such an issue. But I think people like Kyle Walker are just like, probably an example of what's happening around the country, is that some people think they're the exception to this.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's just me, like, it's just... only me getting a couple of escorts over, you know. I'm only one person. Like, you know, it can't have that big of an effect.
But if a lot of people think they're that one person, then it's a snowball, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's it. I think that's the biggest argument you can label at all these scenarios in the current lockdown, is when someone does something that's against the grain, just say to them, yeah, but if we all did that, then we'd be done. You know, like if we all went down and did the Jose Mourinho little private session with Tanguy and Ndombele, I'm sure they were keeping social distancing, and in isolation, that's fine. But what if we all just gathered the troops of our local area and all went down to the local park, every single park in the country, and we all did the same thing?
Problem with that is, like, I know they live locally, but you're only meant to be in maximum groups of 2.
You're meant to be
if you're not under the same household
as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're not
so
meant
like,
to be meeting...
everything they did was wrong.
Yeah.
And also, and you're telling me, and I could be right, but you're telling me that they all live like, a 2-minute walk from the park as well?
Yeah.
Absolutely no chance. Like, one of them has at least travelled quite a bit to get to that park.
And supposedly 2 of them were just jogging along and happened to bump into them, is the story they're spinning.
Come on.
Which is
It's
like,
unlikely.
come on. Because you see all these footballers just jogging about all the time, don't you?
Not everyone in football has been acting the fool, and we saw some positive steps taken by several clubs. Man United confirmed that staff are being paid in full. West Brom CEO has taken a 100% pay cut, and Stoke City's owners have donated £10 million to the NHS, presumably as a penance for all the Arsenal legs they've broken over the years. No, I haven't forgotten. However, Spurs are under fire for furloughing staff. Is the backlash fair?
I mean, I don't really know what else you can say to that as a Spurs fan. I mean, if you're on the Spurs board or whatever, I guess your decision making comes from a different place. But I mean, Liverpool did the exact same thing in terms of furloughing their staff, got a backlash, and did a total 180 on it, and everyone's agreed that was the right thing to do. I mean, they probably shouldn't have done it in the first place, but it's crazy that a club, having seen how much stick Spurs are getting, even thought to do it in the first place. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of other clubs who were going to furlough their staff who are now like, well, absolutely not, we've got to find a different situation or a different way of doing this because of the amount of backlash.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I mean,
Liverpool for one.
Well, yeah.
And I saw one article now, I think this is an outlier, but one guy was saying it's not enough that they've done a U-turn, they never should have done it in the first place. I think that's ridiculous attitude to have. Like, what kind of moral lesson is that? You can never recover from ever making any mistakes. The fact that they've done a U-turn in itself is like, right, fair enough, you've listened to the public and changed your opinion of that. But it seems Spurs are holding out for the meantime.
Well, there was a tweet, wasn't there, of Levy, saying that the staff could work at his house or something like that.
Yeah.
What was that? I saw a headline, but I didn't read into it. What exactly did happen?
I don't know what the source on it is exactly, but there's the suggestion that the ground staff, who obviously aren't particularly up to loads at the moment because you don't need to keep a playing surface looking any good, could come and work on his mansion basically, but he would pay them out of his own money rather than the club money, and that was somehow meant to be better.
If that is true, that's still a bad look. You know what I mean?
It still sort of seems a bit like him hiring servants in a it's fine, I know you're having a lot of trouble right now, but you can come and mow my lawn. It's a bit.
Oh my god, yeah, it's kind of like, why? How do we still get some value out of these guys? You know, it's like just pay them for the meantime, man.
I know that
if he said that, but
Well, yeah,
allegedly.
if he said that, and
Yeah.
like I know that like he in particular as like chairman has like got a huge reputation for like money grabbing. But what's so mad about this is that we furloughed these staff. Looks like they're not going to turn back on it at the moment. Who knows what might happen by the time this goes out? But like we still, when football starts again and like a transfer window or whatever rolls around, will try and spend like 20 million on a right back from a league that no one's ever heard of, rather than spending like all this money that we've got. We're like the 8th richest club or whatever in the world, and Liverpool is the 7th or whatever have done a U-turn. Like, why are we not doing the same thing? I know you make a point about like they shouldn't have done it in the first place, but Spurs are now in a situation where other clubs have done it and then U-turned, making Spurs look even worse. Because if Spurs were to U-turn now, it's like, why did it take you so long? It's now been a week or 2 weeks nearly since that first decision.
This is the brutal reality of football at the highest level, and I'm not just saying that for Spurs. I'm saying that for Wolves. I'm saying that for all the big clubs. Is that they are just massive businesses. It's not until you get down to the League One, League Two clubs where football is like the life in terms of. The fans mean so much to the club. Without the fans, the clubs can't survive. You go to the ground, you get the feeling of like a family kind of stuff. You go to Spurs, you go to United, you go to Man City. They're just massive businesses, money-making machines.
It's time for another round of bold predictions where we make concise yet outrageous claims about the future. Although we don't know when the season will end, we can certainly speculate about how. So, guys, what are your predictions? I'll start with you, Graz.
Okay. Oh, crikey. Okay, right. So, first things first, I actually genuinely don't see that top 4 really changing at all. Possibly Chelsea could come up and overtake Leicester if they have a bit of a wobble, but that top 4 for me seems set. So, with that in mind, move on to 5 and 6. Where I may have made one weird prediction, and Andy's putting a face like he knows what it is, but he's probably going to be surprised.
If you think Spurs are getting 5th, I'm going to leave this chat straight away.
5th, Man United. I think that at the moment...
Well, it's not bold, is it? They are actually 5th.
Yeah, but it's bold to think that they'll keep it up. Right? Particularly if this crisis manages to go on long enough that you have players like Rashford coming back and you have someone like him ahead of Fernandes who has made such a difference to them. It's not unreasonable to think that they can continue that level of form that they were starting to get on until like the end of the season, whenever that is. 6th, on Sheffield United, and this is based
How very dare
This is based at least partially on whether the Europa League finishes, and in my prediction, the Europa League does, and I think you guys have genuinely got a good chance of going quite far in that, if not attempting to try and win it. And if you do, it would be mental to not try and win it rather than trying to get ahead of Sheffield. Whereas Sheffield, I just don't see...
Sheffied United.
Sheffield United. I think all it does really is show what a good job they're doing. Like, and arguably on the other side of that coin, what an awful job or what an awful season teams like Spurs and Arsenal have had. If you think that a team like Sheffield United, as good as Sheffield United have been, and they've been fantastic, and like someone like Wolves were last year coming up from, they both had fantastic like first seasons in the Prem, and you may have that like amazing bounce, but to do it on that budget and to do it with players who you trust, and he hasn't got in many sort of new players this season, really, has he? Like, not a lot. He's not sort of changed the side dramatically from the Championship at all.
No. No, he hasn't. And Andy, would they feature then in your bold predictions, or Graz was talking about Wolves' Europa League campaign? Do you think that would affect how they could end up?
Do you know what? I honestly think that the crisis is going to really help Wolves because we have played more fixtures than anyone this season. So if anyone does need a timely rest, it is Wolves, because our squad is very small. We've played so many games. And it's actually going to allow us to come back refreshed. When we talk about when you talk about Man United, right? Probably they will finish in that top 6. But are we forgetting that? Are we just assuming now, actually, that Man United have now overcome the past 5 years, and then this new beast of Man United, and they won't lose to teams like Brighton, and they won't lose to teams like Norwich? Are we just assuming that? Because I feel like people are forgetting what has just preceded them. They're just thinking, well, we've got Bruno Fernandes, we've got Pogba coming back. We are now the force to be reckoned with. Are people forgetting that they will still lose to Burnley? They will still lose to Newcastle because that's what is the club at the moment. That's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is as a manager.
Really, Jack, do you have any specific predictions?
Just I think bottom three wise, I think Villa and Norwich. I don't know. They're the ones that are real in danger. Bournemouth, Watford. God, it's tight, isn't it? West Ham as well.
I actually put West Ham in mine.
It'd be mental if West Ham went down.
Well, that would be mental from a financial point of view, but like they deserve to go down.
I actually have West Ham in mind. They've been on an awful run since Moyes came back. They didn't get that manager bounce because nobody wanted Moyes to come back. I don't think it was the owners who wanted him back because he was a cheap option, I guess. But they haven't had a bounce.
Yeah, the money they've put in, they tried to bring in players, bring in big manager, but it's mental how that's kind of still backfired, isn't it?
Okay, let's move on to our ultimate teams. Each one of us will pick our all-time ultimate team, going from position to position with each passing week. We did goalkeepers last week, and now it is on to left backs. So, first of all, Jack, who is your all-time ultimate left back pick?
I mean, I'm probably going with the very obvious answer here, but I mean it was a toss up between Ashley Cole or Patrice Evra, just in terms of what the stats and the kind of the honours they've received in that time. But I think for me, Ashley Cole just is also just having the connection with him playing for England as well. Yep. Like for me. What's he won? He's three Prems, one Champions League, one Europa.
Yeah, he did it consistently across multiple clubs for a long time.
Yeah,
when he went from Arsenal.
Good innings.
On Ashley Cole, though, it's quite refreshing to see that his strongest asset was actually defending. Because these days we're looking at people like Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's a quality player, but he's not a great defender.
No.
And actually, we're calling them defenders.
Yeah.
So, it's like, in what industry would you get away with not actually being that great at what you're being paid to do? In a sense? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking anything away from Trent. I'm just saying that it's refreshing because in modern day, it's like unless you're absolutely rapid and have got a ball in like Eric Cantona, it's like no one cares about you. I suppose Wan-Bissaka gets credit, but I mean generally.
But he's a bit of an anomaly though. Wan-Bissaka's getting credit because it's like, oh my god, it's a right back or a left back who can defend. At the moment, there's such a tendency to be like, oh my god, someone like Robertson, right? We could have talked about Robertson because he's had two absolutely fantastic seasons. But if you're looking at an all-time Premier League 11, it's just he's not been around long enough. It's ridiculous to think that maybe if we did this in 10 years, we'd be like, oh yeah, Robertson's the best left back he's ever lived, but. You can't do that now.
See here in 10 years.
Yeah, and we'll review it then. So my pick would have been Ashley Cole as well, to be honest, Jack, now that you mentioned it. Andy, what would you have said?
All right, so 2 Arsenal players from you, Sean, so far, so it's just going to be the Arsenal 11, yeah?
Pretty much.
It's going to be Tony Adams, Martin Keown, Lauren, it's going to be Gilberto in the middle of the park alongside Pete Vieira, yeah?
Yeah. Well, let's just get that out of the way now, I guess.
Yeah,
if you want to know my side, just look up Arsenal Invincibles and you've got it. Andy, who's your pick?
So left back is actually my favourite position on the pitch. So growing up as a kid, I don't know whether you noticed this, but I definitely did, is that a lot of the cultured players were all left backs, particularly left-footed as well. I just loved, they were all set piece takers, just a wand of a left foot. I'm just looking at the likes of Ian Hart, Leighton Baines, Marcus Alonso at the moment, Kolarov. I feel like I see a lot more left backs. I know Alexander-Arnold's a right back, but let's forget Alexander-Arnold. Generally, left backs have been a really kind of cultured position. And the one that stands out for me is John Arnorisa.
He can hit it.
I know. I know Ashley Cole is a better defender. I know he's arguably a better player. He's won more. I get that. But actually, in terms of like getting me involved in watching football, John Onorisa was probably one of the only players who could play left back, and I still probably wanted to like keep an eye on him all game. He was that impressive when he got on the ball. He'd either be spraying balls out, he'd be running into the box, drilling in bottom corner, like scoring absolute worldies. And who doesn't love a player that's got a rocket of a shot on them as well?
Yeah.
So he, for me, just in terms of wanting to watch him play, he would be my number one. I understand he's not the best, but I'm talking about, you know, putting my bum on a seat and making me actually really interested in a game, and it would be him.
And finally, Graz, who was your left back pick?
Yeah, so quite boringly now that you come to me last, also Ashley Cole.
Right.
I've just got a lot of really good memories of him, particularly for England in that era. Obviously, not so many good memories of him at Arsenal and Chelsea. It does actually pain me a little bit to say that he was the best left back in the Premier League, but pretty much every season that he was in the Prem, he was, and he was so consistent as well. He just didn't really ever get injured. He was just so good defensively, as we've already said, but like he was also the prototype for a lot of these attacking players, because he did get forward, and like you knew, I mean, like Arsenal fans knew that if you would pick up the ball like in your half, then Ashley Cole would end up often being one of the furthest forward players in a team that had like Thierry Henry. Like he would get up that wing so fast, and it was just devastating to watch him sometimes.
All right, and finally, quick fire round, worst left back picks. I'm going to go with Mikel Silvestre, just purely for what he did at Arsenal. I watched him in a clip there when Arsenal beat Barcelona 2-1 at the Emirates. He was playing in that match, and I saw him pop up, and I'd honestly forgotten. I'd clearly just repressed the memory so much that it was wiped from my brain completely, and I had a bit of a shock. And I knew we were preparing this, so I was like, right, I'm not going to think any further about that. Mikel Silvestre. Jack, what do you think?
It might be a little bit harsh, but Alberto Moreno. He's just like, any time he would, well, I mean, there was a long time that he was number one for the left back, but you just knew that anyone coming down that left hand, that side, attacking against him, he just was prone to mistakes. He just was such a loose cannon, and he scored, I think, 3 goals maybe, so he didn't really offer much in return.
Do you know what I want to say? And I know this is weird, but I want to say Gareth Bale.
Oh, you've stolen my thing!
The left back version of Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
The number 10 left winger Gareth Bale, one of the best players I've ever seen.
Unbelievable. Some of the best memories I'll ever have in football.
But the left back Spurs Gareth Bale, awful. I mean, they were going to sell him at one point, weren't they?
As I'm sure Andy knows, and I'm sure Andy has this stat in front of him as well, right? In his first 24 appearances for Spurs, which would have all been at left back when we first got him, we failed to register a win. 24 appearances with Gareth Bale on the side, we failed to register a win. There's a quote here, right? One glance at the score, any Spurs fan will tell you without looking at the lineups that Gareth Bale must have played. That was how much of a bad omen he was at that stage.
Jesus.
Right? So as a left back, like, unquestionably awful. But, I mean, it comes with the knowledge that he went on to become the player that he did, and you know, so many phenomenal like memories of him playing.
All right, well, we'll leave it there, folks. Thank you very much for joining us, lads, and thank you for watching at home. We'll see you again next week for another episode of Dream Team Couch TV. Take care.